Welcome back into Talk Back. Always a thrill to catch up with our senior U.S. Senator for the state of Louisiana, Bill Cassidy. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all?
Just fine.
We're doing fine. We're doing fine. Senator, you have been all over the place. I know that's not unusual, but man, I got to give you the frequent flyer miles. I know that you were with the president down in Cameron Parish and everywhere in between, and it seems to be a very busy time of year right now.
It's a great time of year. Right now, I'm going through Metairie, but on Monday I was in Monroe, and Monday and Tuesday in Monroe, then in Baton Rouge, Capital Region. Now going down to and of course you pass through Alexandria as you do these travels. It's a great job to go through Louisiana as I get to go through Louisiana.
No doubt about it, sir. No doubt about it. Well, as always, I know that you're always working on something medically, as that's, of course, close to your heart. Pardon the pun on that one. But I know that right now you are working to end surprise medical bills. I think, Senator, most of our audience out there can relate. They go to the mailbox. They've already paid for whatever surgery and seen from Blue Cross or whoever it is, what the Blue Cross, covers and so on and so forth. Then all of a sudden they get this other bill and they're going, WTF, Senator.
Yeah, so you've done your homework. You've gone to the in-network hospital with the in-network surgeon, and you get billed for an out-of-network piece of equipment. For thousands of dollars more than you anticipated. I'm sorry. Remember last time, by the way, I'm sorry to go, when I was in the car in Shreveport and somebody jumped in front of me and I said something I shouldn't say?
I was going to say, watch yourself.
We remember it. You're lucky that this is a dominant Republican audience listening, Senator, because we could definitely hold that as blackmail to someone else. I'm just kidding, of course.
Well, I just almost happened again. So I went, but I've learned my lesson. So you go to the in-network everything, and you get an out-of-network for something. That's wrong, and that puts the patient at the mercy of a hospital or you name it, seeking to bill for services that you shouldn't be billed for. Mm-hmm. We got a bill we've put forward. Jim will like this. We've got 10 Democrats along with 10 Republican senators that is saying on a bipartisan basis, we're giving the patient the power. If she makes the right decision as to where to go, we hold her harmless, and she's not going to get billed for something out of network.
That's how legislation's supposed to work.
Yeah, and we think it will work, and we obviously need Democrats. You need 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. So this ensures that we get the number of votes we need, but also gives us folks that will go to Nancy Pelosi in the other party and say, listen, Miss Pelosi, we're on this bipartisan bill. Can you pass it on your side? The president will sign it if we get it through. So I'm hopeful that we can.
By the way, Senator Cassidy will be the featured host and speaker at the Sinlaw Chamber of Commerce luncheon, which, of course, he will be the keynote speaker at that on August 19th. You can check the Chamber's website for tickets for that. Senator, speaking of Pelosi and the gang, obviously, the left and the national media, et cetera, are absolutely going berserk about Mueller's speech earlier this week and his 9.5-minute speech that he gave, and the William Barr and impeachment abound and everything like that. What is your thoughts and opinions on that malarkey?
So
that was an unbiased question.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good way to frame it. Alan Dershowitz is a liberal Democrat who is on the faculty of Harvard Law School. And he had a piece in Real Clear Politics, I think yesterday. You can still find it. And he says what Mueller did was wrong. He said that Mueller, as a prosecutor with a grand jury, basically, without indicting the president, implied that he would have. And that is partisan. And it should not be partisan. And Dershowitz makes the case that when you go to a grand jury, there's not a defense attorney who says you cannot put in that piece of evidence because it was acquired inappropriately or, by the way, is invalid. And so that is why prosecutors are not supposed to indicate, as Mueller did, their feelings, because there is not someone there to push back upon the validity of their evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So he feels like Mueller made this a partisan issue, and it should not be. I kind of agree with Dershowitz.
That's a good way to say it.
Well,
Jim,
Mueller's
I know that you have a rebuttal.
I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
Mueller is a Republican. And all he's doing, what he did, and he gave his statement, and he says he's out of it. And they said, "What about it? Are you going to testify before Congress?" And he says, "I don't know." Well, nowadays, if you're subpoenaed by Congress, it doesn't matter. You just say, "I'm not going to do it."
Mueller is as much of a Republican as.
Oh, don't give me that rhino stuff.
All right, Senator, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not banging on Mr. Mueller. I just thought that what he did. By the way, there is no collusion, but there might be a crime of obstruction for a crime that didn't occur. I don't quite gather that, but I'm a gastroenterologist, not an attorney. But I will go back to, I think, Dershowitz's point, who he said prior to this, he's always defended Mueller. The way that was presented begged the question, and yet it shouldn't have begged the question because there was only one side of the argument presented. I actually think that's a fair statement, Jim.
All right, we gotta move on subjects here while we still have you for the next 2 minutes. I know that right now you're continuing to also work on family leave. A lot of people have talked about this, Senator. We've heard the horror stories that a father was denied, I think, the adequate paternity leave. In addition to that, employers around the country are not honoring vacation time for people or family time for people. Talk about this, clarify this for some of the audience out there, please.
Yeah, so so Ivanka Trump, I'm working very closely with Ivanka, and of course Ivanka is so close to her father that I can say that the president and Ivanka are kind of driving this, and I have the privilege of working very closely with them as the point person in the Senate. But if you look at folks who make $70,000 and above, they typically have paid family leave, even if it is called something else. Mm-hmm. It is folks who earn less than that who don't have the advantage of having paid family leave. Now, from the employer's perspective, my gosh, I can't afford another burden. I'm a small business just trying to make my margins. I get that. So what we're trying to do, and I think we will do, is come up with a policy which allows, as someone who is working for a small employer, to be able to take some time off and to get paid for that time off. Now, from the employer's perspective, instead of the employee quitting and you've invested 3 years of training, making them the better employee, they have a baby, you suddenly lose them. We keep that attachment between the mama and the daddy to the workplace so that they will come back after having maybe 8 weeks off with their child, and you don't lose that training. So we think it works for the employer. For the baby, my gosh, it's a lot better to be breastfed for the first 8 weeks of life and cared for your mother, and then maybe 8 weeks more with your father, as opposed to immediately going into daycare. It's also better to have a mom and dad who are attached to the workplace than who are on public assistance. Mm. So we think this works all the way around. As a doctor, I know it's better for the mother to have 8 weeks to recover with her child. So we think it works all the way around. We think we can do this without raising taxes. So we'll introduce the legislation probably sometime late June. I like where we are.
Speaking of taxes, we'll wrap up with this, and this is very admirable of what you're trying to do here. This lowering taxes on Gold Star families, which people don't know what a Gold Star family is. That's a family who lost a loved one in the military. Senator, this seems to just be a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. There is a benefit that is given to the children of someone who died protecting our country, and we want to preserve the kind of tax benefits for that payment that goes to those kids. We passed this. I was, again, privileged to be able to lead the effort in the Senate. It has passed unanimously in the Senate. It's also passed in the House, but it was part of a bigger bill. We're hoping that the House can just pass ours, straightforward, single shot, boom, this is the one issue we can agree upon. The President will sign it into law, and we will continue those tax benefits for the children of those who died protecting our country.
Senator, as always, we appreciate the time, sir. Be safe driving out there, more importantly.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care. That was Senator Bill Cassidy. We'll be right back.